The Forgotten Flight. The sky was a canvas of infinite blue on the day the radar picked up the anomaly. A faint but insistent signal had been detected by a passing cruise ship in the Pacific Ocean. It was unusual enough to catch the attention of the Navy, and soon a specialized crew aboard a crane ship was dispatched to investigate. When they arrived at the coordinates, the ocean seemed unremarkable, vast, and unyielding. The signal pulsed below, whispering secrets from the depths. Days of careful maneuvering followed, with state-of-the-art equipment deployed to scan the seafloor. When the cameras finally revealed a ghostly outline buried in silt and coral, the crew gasped. It was an airplane. Rusted and worn, the craft was massive yet eerily unfamiliar. There were no windows on its sides, and its structure seemed as though it had been reclaimed by the ocean for decades. The task of raising it to the surface was Herculean. The crane groaned and strained as it pulled the plane from its watery grave, revealing its corroded fuselage dripping with marine life. Once on deck, the crew's curiosity grew. What secrets did this ghostly relic hold? Into the unknown. Rick and Mark, seasoned yet adventurous sailors, were chosen to explore the interior. Clad in protective gear, they entered the plane, their flashlights piercing the dark, claustrophobic interior. Inside, the rows of numbered passenger seats were eerily intact, though draped in algae and decay. "It's an old passenger plane," Mark whispered, his voice muffled by his helmet. "But why no windows? And why isn't there any record of this?" Their exploration led them to the cockpit. There, on the pilot's seat, lay a sealed metal box, its surface corroded but intact. Inside, they discovered a tape recorder. Against all odds, the device was still functional. With trembling hands, Rick pressed play. The cabin filled with static before a voice emerged, calm yet tinged with urgency. It was the pilot. "This is Captain Daniel Hayes. If anyone finds this, please know we survived the crash. 52 souls made it off this plane. We've reached a nearby island using life rafts. These coordinates will lead you to us. Please, help them if you can." The recording ended abruptly, leaving Rick and Mark in stunned silence. They hurried back to the crew, clutching the coordinates as though they were a lifeline. The island of resilience. The Navy wasted no time, setting course for the coordinates. Hours turned into days as the ship cut through the vast Pacific. When they finally spotted the island, it appeared deceptively serene, a slice of paradise untouched by time. Small teams were dispatched to search for signs of life. At first, the island seemed abandoned, but closer inspection revealed subtle clues. An extinguished fire pit surrounded by charred coconut shells, tattered cloth tied to tree branches fluttering like forgotten signals, and shelters pieced together from driftwood. Venturing deeper into the jungle, the search party stumbled upon a hidden village. The sight was both humbling and extraordinary. A close-knit community had thrived here. Young children with sun-kissed skin played among the trees, while adults worked together to prepare meals and maintain their homes. At the heart of the village stood an elderly man, his back straight despite his years, his eyes bright with recognition as the Navy approached. "Captain Hayes," one of the officers ventured. The man smiled warmly. "You've found us," he said, his voice steady yet filled with emotion. A tale of survival. Around a crackling fire that evening, Captain Hayes recounted their story. The plane had crashed in 1971 during a violent storm. Against all odds, all 52 passengers survived the impact. They had used inflatable rafts to reach the island, but no rescue ever came. "We thought they'd find us," Hayes said, his gaze distant. "But as the days turned into weeks, we realized we were on our own." The survivors had relied on their collective strength and ingenuity to build a life. They hunted, fished, and cultivated what little the land could offer. Over time, the community grew as children were born, and they learned to cherish the simple joys of their isolated existence. "Most of the original passengers are gone now," Hayes continued, his voice tinged with sorrow. "But their legacy lives on in these children and grandchildren. They are the true survivors." A difficult choice. The Navy offered to take the islanders back to civilization. For the younger generation, the prospect of seeing the world beyond their shores was thrilling. But for Hayes and the older members, the decision was bittersweet. "This island is all we've known," one elder remarked. "It's our home." After much deliberation, the community agreed to leave, recognizing that reconnecting with the outside world was a step forward, even if it meant leaving behind the life they had built. The return. The journey back to civilization was emotional. As the islanders stepped onto modern soil for the first time in decades, they were met with a mix of wonder and trepidation. The world they had once known had changed beyond recognition, yet they carried with them the values that had sustained them: resilience, unity, and hope. The government provided the islanders with a settlement where they could live together, preserving the community that had become their greatest strength. The younger generation quickly adapted, embracing technology and education, while the elders shared their stories of survival, ensuring their legacy would never be forgotten. Captain Hayes, now 89, was hailed as a hero. Yet he remained humble, insisting that the true heroes were the passengers who had trusted and supported one another through unimaginable challenges. He passed away peacefully a few years later, surrounded by the people he had guided and loved. The lesson. The tale of the forgotten flight serves as a powerful reminder of human resilience and the strength of community. Stripped of modern conveniences, the survivors learned to rely on one another, proving that unity and determination can overcome even the most insurmountable odds. For those who heard their story, it was a lesson in gratitude, appreciating the resources and connections we often take for granted. And for the islanders, it was a new beginning, a chance to honor their past while stepping boldly into the future. Their story lives on, inspiring countless others to embrace the challenges of life with courage and compassion, knowing that even in the darkest moments, there is always a way forward. The Island of Echoes. When the Navy ship anchored off the shores of the island, a wave of anticipation swept through the crew. The lush jungle that blanketed the land seemed both inviting and mysterious, concealing decades of secrets beneath its emerald canopy. As the team stepped ashore, the stillness of the place was almost reverent, broken only by the soft rustle of leaves and the distant call of seabirds. Captain Harris, the leader of the Navy crew, divided his team into smaller groups to calm the island. Each group carried tools, medical supplies, and food, ready for anything they might encounter. For hours, they moved carefully through the dense jungle, scanning for signs of life. At first, the clues they found were subtle: a set of footprints hardened in the sand, the remnants of a fishing net made from plant fibers, and crude carvings on rocks depicting animals and symbols. It was clear someone had lived here, but how long ago? As dusk began to settle, one team stumbled upon what appeared to be a village hidden deep within the jungle. Built with ingenuity and resourcefulness, the settlement was a patchwork of shelters made from bamboo, driftwood, and palm leaves. Smoke rose faintly from what seemed to be a fire pit in the center of the village, its embers still warm. The team approached cautiously, unsure of what, or who, they might find. Then, from the shadows, figures began to emerge. The meeting. A dozen pairs of eyes watched the Navy crew, wide with curiosity and apprehension. The people before them ranged in age from young children clinging to their parents' legs to elderly figures who moved with the slow grace of a life well lived. Their clothing was handmade, pieced together from natural materials, and their faces bore the marks of sun and time. From among them stepped an old man, his posture regal despite his weathered frame. His hair was a silvery cascade, and his eyes held a depth that seemed to pierce through time. "I am Daniel Hayes," he said, his voice steady and clear, "captain of Flight 519. The Navy crew was stunned. Here was the man they had heard on the recording, standing before them after more than 5 decades. The moment felt surreal, as though the barriers of time had dissolved. Captain Harris extended a hand, and the two men shook firmly, bridging the gap between two worlds. "We're here to help," Harris said. "We found your plane, and your message brought us to you." The villagers exchanged glances, a mixture of relief and disbelief washing over their faces. Stories of survival. That evening, under a sky strewn with stars, the villagers shared their story with the Navy crew. They gathered around the fire as Captain Hayes began his tale, his voice rich with emotion. "When the plane went down, we thought it was the end," he said. "But it wasn't. It was the beginning of a different kind of journey." He described how they had used the plane's life rafts to reach the island. The first days had been a desperate scramble for survival, marked by hunger, injuries, and the weight of uncertainty. Yet, instead of succumbing to despair, they had come together, pooling their skills and resources to carve out a life. One passenger, a botanist, had identified edible plants and shown others how to cultivate them. Another, a carpenter, had taught the group to build shelters. Each person contributed something unique, and in their collective effort, they found strength. "We became a family," Hayes said, looking around at the villagers with pride. "We didn't just survive. We thrived." Over the years, children were born, and the island became a place of both memories and new beginnings. The initial group of survivors dwindled as time passed, but their descendants carried forward their legacy, living harmoniously with the land and one another. The dilemma. As the villagers shared their story, the Navy crew listened with awe and admiration. But the time came to discuss the future. "We can take you back," Harris said, "to civilization, to the world you left behind." The suggestion hung in the air, heavy with implications. For some, particularly the younger generation, the prospect of leaving was exhilarating. They had grown up hearing stories of cities, technology, and wonders beyond the horizon. But for others, especially those who had lived through the crash and built their lives on the island, the idea was daunting. This place had been their refuge, their home. Could they leave it behind? The villagers gathered for a council that night, their voices low but filled with emotion. They debated the risks and rewards of returning to a world they barely remembered. Some feared they would lose their identity and the close-knit community they had built. Others saw an opportunity to connect with their roots and explore possibilities they had only dreamed of. The decision. In the end, the decision was made collectively. They would leave the island, but they would do so together, vowing to carry the spirit of their community into the new world. The next morning, as the Navy helped them pack their belongings, there was a sense of both excitement and sorrow. Children marveled at the Navy's equipment, while elders lingered, taking one last look at the island that had been their sanctuary. Captain Hayes stood at the water's edge, his hand resting on the trunk of an ancient tree. "This place saved us," he said quietly. "It gave us a second chance, but it's time to let go." The return to civilization. The journey back was filled with wonder. For the villagers, every sight and sound was a revelation. The vast expanse of the ocean, the hum of the ship's engines, the lights of a distant city growing brighter with each passing hour. When they arrived, the world embraced them. The media heralded their story as one of survival and resilience, and governments ensured they were provided with homes and resources. A settlement was established where they could live together, preserving their unique bond while integrating into modern society. For the younger generation, the transition was thrilling. They pursued education, careers, and new experiences with boundless enthusiasm. Yet they carried with them the values of unity and resourcefulness that had been instilled on the island. The older generation, including Captain Hayes, found peace in sharing their story, ensuring the legacy of Flight 519 would never be forgotten. Hayes himself became a symbol of hope and perseverance, inspiring countless others with his quiet strength and wisdom. When he passed away a few years later, the world mourned his loss but celebrated the extraordinary life he had lived. Legacy of the Forgotten Flight. The story of the islanders spread far and wide, touching hearts and reminding people of the strength that lies within human connection. It became a testament to the power of resilience, showing that even in the face of unimaginable challenges, people can rise, adapt, and thrive. The villagers, now part of the broader world, continued to honor their past while embracing the future, and in quiet moments, they would often gather to share stories of the island, a place that had once been their world and would forever remain a part of their hearts. Their journey was a reminder to all that even in isolation, even in adversity, the human spirit has the capacity to endure, grow, and shine, rebuilding lives and embracing the unknown. The return to civilization was both a revelation and a challenge for the islanders. The Navy had ensured their safety, but now the real test began, adapting to a world that had raced decades ahead of them. The islanders stepped onto bustling city streets, where skyscrapers stretched toward the heavens, and the hum of technology enveloped every corner. It was overwhelming, a stark contrast to the serene simplicity of their jungle home. The younger generation, brimming with curiosity, eagerly explored this new world. They marveled at the internet, tasted food they had never imagined, and embraced opportunities to learn and grow. For them, this was a world of infinite possibilities. But for the elders, the adjustment was not as seamless. Captain Hayes, who had led them through so much, became their guiding force once again. His wisdom and calm demeanor reassured those struggling with the transition. In the weeks following their arrival, the government arranged for the islanders to live in a specially designed settlement. The village was a blend of modern convenience and natural elements, designed to ease their integration while preserving the sense of community that had been their lifeline for decades. Preserving a legacy. One of the first projects the islanders undertook was to document their story. With the help of journalists, historians, and volunteers, they created a detailed chronicle of their life on the island. Photographs, sketches, and oral histories were compiled into a book titled Echoes of Survival. This endeavor became a bridge between their old life and the new. For the younger islanders, it was a chance to learn about the struggles and triumphs of their ancestors. For the elders, it was a way to ensure that the lessons of resilience and unity would not be lost in the rush of modernization. The book became a bestseller, touching the hearts of millions around the world. Schools used it as a teaching tool, and it sparked conversations about the strength of the human spirit in the face of adversity. The royalties from the book provided the islanders with a financial foundation, allowing them to invest in education, healthcare, and infrastructure for their community. Adapting to change, the younger generation thrived in their new environment. Some pursued higher education, excelling in fields like medicine, engineering, and environmental science. They carried the innovative spirit of their ancestors, using their knowledge of sustainable living to contribute to global discussions about climate change and resource conservation. One young woman, Elizabeth, became an environmental activist, advocating for the preservation of natural habitats. She often spoke of the island as her inspiration. "We learn to live with the land, not against it," she said in a speech at an international conference. That knowledge is a gift we can share with the world. The elders, meanwhile, became cultural ambassadors. They gave lectures, appeared on talk shows, and participated in community events, sharing their experiences of survival and the importance of unity. Their stories resonated with audiences, reminding people of the value of human connection in an increasingly digital world. Captain Hayes' final mission. As the months turned into years, Captain Hayes became a revered figure, not only among the islanders, but also in the broader community. Yet, as much as he enjoyed seeing his people thrive, he couldn't ignore a nagging sense of incompleteness. One day, he approached Captain Harris of the Navy with a request. "There are still parts of the island we never explored fully," he said. "I'd like to go back, not just for closure, but to see if there's anything we left behind, something that might help us better understand our journey." A small expedition was arranged, and Hayes, accompanied by a few trusted companions, returned to the island. The journey was bittersweet. Walking through the jungle once more, Hayes was struck by how much the island had given them. During their exploration, They discovered something extraordinary, a cave hidden behind a cascading waterfall. Inside, they found artifacts that had been hidden away for decades, journals, sketches, and tools crafted during their early days of survival. Among them was a small wooden box containing photographs salvaged from the wreckage of the plane. The images, though faded, showed the faces of those who had been part of the original group. Hayes wept as he held the photographs, a flood of memories washing over him. "These faces," he said, his voice trembling, "they were my family, and their legacy lives on." The discovery was a final gift from the island, a reminder of the courage and resilience that had carried them through. A new chapter. When Hayes returned to civilization with the artifacts, they became part of a museum exhibit dedicated to the story of Flight 519. The exhibit, titled From the Depths to the Sky, a journey of survival and hope, drew visitors from around the globe. Captain Hayes lived to see the opening of the exhibit, standing proudly as he shared his story with visitors. His health began to decline shortly afterward, but he faced the end with the same dignity and strength that had defined his life. Surrounded by his people, he passed away peacefully, leaving behind a legacy of hope and inspiration. Carrying the torch. In the years that followed, the islanders continued to flourish. They honored their past while embracing their future, becoming a symbol of resilience and adaptability. Their story was taught in schools, celebrated in art and literature, and remembered as a beacon of what humanity could achieve when united by purpose and determination. And though they had left the island behind, it remained a part of them. For in their hearts, the lessons of survival, community, and hope were forever etched, guiding them through whatever challenges life might bring. Their journey was not just a tale of survival, but a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. A reminder that even in the face of the unknown, we can rise, rebuild, and thrive. The New World and Timeless Bonds. The years after their return to civilization marked a new era for the islanders. While they adjusted to the conveniences of modern life, their tightly woven community remained a cornerstone of their identity. The settlement they called home, nestled in a serene countryside, became a living example of harmony between old-world values and modern innovation. Bridging generations. For the younger islanders, life was a whirlwind of exploration. They attended schools and universities, where they excelled in subjects ranging from technology to environmental science. They were natural innovators, often incorporating the resourceful habits they had inherited from their ancestors. Eliza, now a prominent environmental activist, founded an organization named Echoes of Resilience. Her mission was to advocate for sustainable practices and highlight the importance of living in balance with nature. She frequently spoke at global forums, sharing how her community had thrived by embracing the land rather than exploiting it. For the elders, the adjustment was more reflective. They marveled at the conveniences of modern life, electricity, transportation, medicine, but their hearts often wandered back to the island. They missed the sound of the ocean, the rustle of the jungle, and the simplicity of days spent working with their hands. One elder, Samuel, took it upon himself to create a living memory within their settlement. He constructed a replica of their island village, complete with bamboo huts, handmade tools, and a communal fire pit. It became a gathering place for storytelling, a sanctuary where memories of the island could live on. History fades if we let it, Samuel would say. This isn't just for us, it's for the generations yet to come. A reunion with the past. As the islanders settled into their new lives, they began to connect with the descendants of the passengers who hadn't survived the crash. The news of their return had sparked a global search for families who had lost loved ones on Flight 519. For many, these reunions were profoundly emotional. The islanders shared stories of their ancestors' courage and resourcefulness, offering closure to families who had spent decades wondering about their fate. One such family was the Martins, whose patriarch had been a young father on the flight. His daughter, now in her 60s, met the islanders with tears streaming down her face. "He told us he would keep everyone safe," she whispered. And he did. The connections forged in these reunions deepened the islanders' sense of purpose. They became storytellers and keepers of a legacy that had touched countless lives. A call to lead. As their stories spread, the islanders were called upon to take on leadership roles in various global initiatives. Their unique perspective on community, sustainability, and resilience made them invaluable advisors on issues ranging from disaster preparedness to climate change. Mark, one of the island-born descendants, joined an international coalition focused on ocean conservation. Drawing from the skills passed down to him, he developed new techniques for sustainable fishing that were adopted by coastal communities worldwide. "We live by the ocean," Mark explained at a conference. "It provided for us, but only because we respected its limits. That's a lesson we can't afford to ignore." An unexpected discovery. Several years after their return, a scientific expedition was sent to the island. The Navy, in collaboration with researchers, aimed to document the biodiversity of the area and study how the island had supported human life for decades. Among the researchers was Emma Hayes, Captain Hayes' great-granddaughter. She had grown up hearing stories of her great-grandfather's leadership and bravery and felt a deep connection to the island, despite never having seen it. The expedition uncovered more artifacts hidden in the island's caves and dense forests. They found journals detailing the early days of survival, maps drawn by hand, and tools ingeniously crafted from natural materials. One remarkable find was a hidden underground spring that had sustained the survivors during their toughest times. The discoveries were preserved in a dedicated museum, where the legacy of the islanders continued to inspire visitors. Emma became the museum's curator, ensuring her family's story, and the lessons it carried, would endure. A new tradition. Back in their settlement, the islanders began an annual tradition they called homecoming. Every year, they gathered to honor the island and the journey that had shaped their community. The event was a vibrant celebration filled with music, dance, and storytelling. Elders shared tales of their survival, while children performed skits reenacting their ancestors' struggles and triumphs. Eliza often gave speeches about the importance of remembering the past while shaping the future. As the sun set on homecoming day, the community would light a large fire in the replica village, its flames dancing against the night sky. "This fire is a symbol," Samuel would say. "It reminds us that even in the darkest times, we carry a light within us, a light that can guide us through anything." The final gift. Years later, as the first generation of survivors began to pass on, the community gathered to honor their lives. Captain Hayes, Samuel, and others who had led their people through unimaginable challenges were remembered not just as leaders, but as visionaries who had taught their descendants how to live with courage and compassion. In a poignant gesture, the islanders decided to return to the island one final time, not to stay, but to pay homage. A small group, including elders and descendants, made the journey. They carried with them a carved wooden plaque inscribed with the words, "To the island that saved us, may your spirit live on in every heart you touched." The plaque was placed at the heart of their old village, a lasting tribute to the land that had given them hope when all seemed lost. A legacy that endures. The story of Flight 519 and its survivors became a timeless tale, told in classrooms, documentaries, and books. It inspired countless individuals to cherish their communities, respect the environment, and never underestimate the power of unity. For the islanders, the journey was far from over. They continued to build their lives with the same determination and resilience that had carried them through decades of isolation. Their settlement thrived, becoming a beacon of hope and an example of what humanity could achieve when it worked together. And though the island lay far across the ocean, its spirit remained alive in every story told, every tradition upheld, and every heart touched by the legacy of the forgotten flight. The ripples of resilience. As the years passed, the story of the Flight 519 survivors rippled far beyond their community, influencing people and societies across the globe. What had begun as a tale of survival on an uncharted island had transformed into a living testament to human determination, ingenuity, and the strength of the human spirit. Their settlement, nestled in the countryside, evolved into more than just a home. It became a symbol of hope. Visitors from around the world came to learn from the islanders, seeking to understand how they had turned adversity into opportunity and forged a thriving community in the most challenging circumstances. A beacon of learning. One of the first major initiatives in the settlement was the establishment of a Center for Learning and Innovation, named the Hayes Institute for Resilience and Sustainability. The institute offered workshops, seminars, and research opportunities focused on themes such as community building, sustainable living, and disaster preparedness. Eliza, now a world-renowned environmental advocate, spearheaded the institute's programs. She collaborated with scientists, educators, and indigenous communities to develop practical solutions for modern challenges. Her passion for the environment and her ability to connect with people from all walks of life made her an inspiring leader. We learned on that island that survival isn't about individual strength, Eliza often said. It's about collective effort, trust, and respect for each other and for the world around us. Under her leadership, the Institute launched programs to teach sustainable farming techniques, promote renewable energy, and develop disaster-resilient infrastructure. The impact of stories. The tale of Flight 519 was immortalized in countless ways. Beyond the bestseller echoes of survival, filmmakers, playwrights, and artists drew inspiration from the islanders' journey. A feature film based on their story garnered critical acclaim, moving audiences with its poignant depiction of their struggles and triumphs. A popular children's book series, Island Adventures, fictionalized the experiences of the youngest survivors, weaving them into tales of courage and creativity that inspired kids to dream big and face challenges with determination. Samuel, one of the last living elders from the original survivors, became a cultural icon. Despite his advanced age, he continued to travel to schools and community centers, sharing his wisdom. He had a way of making each listener feel as though they were part of the story, drawing them into the hardships and victories of life on the island. One day, a young student asked him, "Do you ever wish the plane had never crashed?" Samuel smiled, his eyes crinkling with warmth. "Of course," he replied. "But life doesn't give us choices about what happens. It only gives us choices about how we respond. And I'm proud of how we responded." A global movement. The lessons of Flight 519 extended far beyond their settlement. Inspired by the islanders' story, communities worldwide began adopting their principles of unity and sustainability. One such initiative was the Flight 519 project, an international movement dedicated to building resilient communities in vulnerable regions. The project worked to provide resources, training, and infrastructure to areas affected by natural disasters and poverty. The islanders played an active role in these efforts, sharing their knowledge and offering hands-on assistance. Mark, who had become an expert in ocean conservation, worked with coastal communities to develop sustainable fishing practices. His methods were adopted in over 20 countries, helping to restore marine ecosystems and improve livelihoods. "Our ancestors taught us to respect the ocean," Mark said at a global summit. "Now we're sharing that respect with the world." A reunion of generations. As the years turned into decades, the descendants of Flight 519 survivors grew into their roles as leaders, innovators, and storytellers. But they never lost sight of their roots. Every 5 years, the community organized a grand reunion, inviting all descendants and anyone connected to the story of Flight 519. These gatherings were held in their settlement, where a sprawling park had been built to honor the legacy of their journey. The park featured a replica of the original village, a mural depicting key moments from their story, and a towering sculpture of Captain Hayes, gazing toward the horizon. The sculpture's base bore an inscription: "To the dreamers and the doers, to those who rise above the waves of adversity, this is for you." At one such reunion, Emma Hayes, the great-granddaughter of Captain Hayes, and now a curator at the Flight 519 Museum, delivered a stirring speech. "Our story didn't end when we left the island," she said. "It's a living story, one that continues to inspire and grow with each passing year. The lessons we learned about resilience, community, and the power of hope belong to everyone." The island remembered. Though the islanders had long left their jungle home, its memory remained a vital part of their identity. A small group of volunteers made annual pilgrimages to the island to ensure it was preserved and protected. During one such visit, they discovered that the island had begun to flourish in their absence. Plants and animals had reclaimed the land, creating a thriving ecosystem. To honor the island's contribution to their survival, the government declared it a protected sanctuary, ensuring it would remain untouched for generations to come. The island became a symbol of renewal and hope, drawing visitors from around the world who came to marvel at its beauty and reflect on its history. A final lesson. As the original survivors passed on, their stories continued to echo through their descendants. The settlement thrived, not as a relic of the past, but as a vibrant community rooted in shared values and a deep connection to its history. Samuel, the last living elder from the original group, passed away peacefully at the age of 103. In his final days, he offered this parting wisdom: "Life isn't about where you are, it's about who you are. It's about the choices you make, the people you stand by, and the legacy you leave behind." The island taught us that. It's a lesson we must carry forward, no matter where we go. The endless legacy. The story of Flight 519 is no longer just a tale of survival. It is a blueprint for resilience, a reminder of what humanity can achieve when united by purpose and compassion. For the islanders and their descendants, it remains a beacon of identity, proof that even in the face of unimaginable challenges, the human spirit can rise, adapt, and thrive. And for the world, it is a story that continues to inspire, a testament to the enduring power of hope, courage, and connection. The eternal flame. Years turned to decades, and the legacy of the Flight 519 survivors continued to shape lives far beyond the boundaries of their settlement. Their story became a living thread woven into the fabric of global consciousness, connecting people through its lessons of resilience, unity, and hope. But as their community thrived and the world learned from their journey, new challenges emerged, ones that would test the strength of the values they held so dear. Challenges in a changing world. The idyllic countryside settlement had grown into a bustling hub of innovation and education. The Hayes Institute for Resilience and Sustainability was at the heart of the community, attracting scientists, thinkers, and leaders from across the globe. While this growth brought new opportunities, it also introduced unforeseen complexities. The younger generation, eager to embrace the modern world, often found themselves caught between two identities. Some felt torn between their heritage and the pressures of contemporary life. They wanted to honor their ancestors while pursuing careers and experiences that took them far from the settlement. One such individual was Daniel, a young software engineer and great-great-grandson of Captain Hayes. Daniel had developed a groundbreaking artificial intelligence system that could model natural ecosystems to predict the impact of human activity. His invention gained international acclaim, but he often felt disconnected from the community that had raised him. "I want to make a difference," Daniel confessed to Eliza during a rare visit home. "But sometimes I feel like I'm leaving our roots behind." Eliza, now a respected elder and the unofficial matriarch of the community, placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Our roots are not a place, Daniel," she said. "They're a part of us, wherever we go. What you're doing is an extension of the legacy we've built. Never doubt that." A global gathering. To address these growing tensions and reinvigorate their shared sense of purpose, the community organized the first Global Resilience Summit, hosted in their settlement. The event brought together descendants of the Flight 519 survivors, leaders in sustainability, and individuals inspired by their story. The summit was a celebration of their shared values, but also a space for reflection and dialogue. Panels and workshops explored topics such as preserving cultural identity in a globalized world, the ethics of technology in sustainability, and the psychological resilience needed to navigate change. One of the most anticipated sessions was a keynote address by Emma Hayes, curator of the Flight 519 Museum and a historian of their legacy. Standing before a packed audience, she spoke with eloquence and passion. "Our story is not static," she said. "It is a living force, growing and evolving with each generation. The challenges we face today may be different, but the principles that guided us on the island, collaboration, adaptability, and respect for one another, remain timeless." The summit concluded with a powerful ceremony. A massive fire was lit at the center of the settlement, its flames reaching skyward as a symbol of the enduring spirit of Flight 519. Participants from around the world placed tokens into the fire, notes, mementos, and even digital files, representing their commitments to carry forward the legacy of resilience. A call to action. As the summit's success reverberated globally, the community decided to channel its energy into an ambitious new project, the Flight 519 Foundation. This initiative aimed to tackle some of the world's most pressing issues, from climate change to social inequality, using the principles that had sustained the islanders. One of the Foundation's flagship programs was the Island Echo Initiative, which worked to preserve and restore isolated communities threatened by environmental or economic challenges. The initiative provided resources, education, and support, helping these communities build resilience while retaining their unique cultural identities. Mark, the ocean conservationist, took a leading role in the program. Traveling to remote islands and coastal regions, he helped implement sustainable practices that ensured both the survival of marine ecosystems and the livelihoods of the people who depended on them. "We can't change the past," Mark often said, "but we can ensure that future generations have the tools they need to face whatever comes their way." An unfinished journey. Despite their achievements, the descendants of Flight 519 never stopped seeking new ways to honor their past. As the original survivors faded into memory, the younger generations felt an increasing responsibility to keep their story alive. One such effort was a cutting-edge virtual reality experience developed by Daniel. Using advanced technology, he recreated the island as it had been during the years of survival. Visitors could step into the shoes of the survivors, experiencing their challenges and triumphs firsthand. The project was an overwhelming success, drawing millions of users worldwide. Schools incorporated it into their curricula, and it became a powerful tool for teaching empathy, resilience, and the importance of working together. "This isn't just a game," Daniel said during the project's launch. "It's a way to connect with the past and understand the strength of the human spirit." Returning to the island. In a deeply symbolic act, the community organized a pilgrimage back to the original island every decade. These visits were both personal and ceremonial, serving as a reminder of their origins and a chance to renew their commitment to the values that had shaped them. On one such pilgrimage, a discovery was made that stunned the group. Hidden in the dense jungle, researchers uncovered a sealed compartment in the wreckage of the plane. Inside were letters written by the original passengers during their first weeks on the island. The letters, addressed to loved ones they thought they might never see again, were filled with raw emotion, despair, hope, and an unyielding determination to survive. One letter, written by Captain Hayes himself, read, "If you ever find this, know that we fought for each other, not just to live, but to build a life worth living. And if we could do that here, so far from everything we knew, then so can you. The strength you need is within you. It always has been." The discovery reignited the community's mission, reminding them of the profound sacrifices and triumphs that had brought them to where they stood today. The flame burns on. The legacy of Flight 519 remains alive, not just in the hearts of its descendants, but in the lives of millions who have been inspired by their story. From classrooms to boardrooms, From remote villages to bustling cities, their journey is a testament to the enduring power of hope, unity, and the human spirit. And though the island is now a sanctuary for nature, its spirit lives on in every life touched by the story of Flight 519. A story that proves no matter how far we fall, we can always rise again, stronger than before. A legacy that transcends time. As the years stretched into decades and the story of Flight 519 wove itself deeper into the fabric of human history, it became more than a tale of survival. It became a universal symbol of what humanity could achieve when united by purpose and hope. The descendants of the survivors, alongside those inspired by their journey, continued to carry forward the lessons learned on that remote island. The lessons of Flight 519. The story of the survivors taught the world a timeless truth. Resilience isn't about avoiding hardship, it's about facing it together. Their journey highlighted the importance of community, collaboration, and respect for both people and the environment. Through their choices and sacrifices, they showed that even in the darkest moments, we can build something beautiful by working together and lifting one another up. From the island's rugged shores to the thriving settlement they built in civilization, their legacy was one of persistence, adaptability, and compassion. The tale of Flight 519 also underscored the value of embracing change without forgetting where we come from. The survivors' descendants, though scattered across the globe, carried the essence of the island in their hearts, proof that roots are not confined to a place but grow within us, shaping how we navigate the future. The flame burns eternal. As the world continues to evolve, the story of Flight 519 remains a beacon of hope. The museum, the foundation, and the initiatives launched in their honor thrive as reminders of the power of human connection. Every year, on the anniversary of their rescue, communities worldwide light candles in a shared moment of reflection and gratitude. Families gather to recount the story, teachers use it to inspire their students, and leaders draw from its lessons to guide their decisions. At the heart of it all lies the memory of the island, both the physical place and what it represented. It was a crucible where ordinary people forged extraordinary lives, where despair was met with determination, and where survival became a story of triumph. A final thought. As Samuel, the last of the original survivors, once said, "Life is unpredictable, often harsh, and sometimes breathtakingly beautiful. But the truth is, we are never truly alone. Together, we can endure any storm, climb any mountain, and transform any challenge into an opportunity to grow." That is the gift of our humanity. The ability to rise, not just for ourselves, but for one another. And so, the story of Flight 519 ends as it began, not with despair, but with hope. It is a reminder to cherish the connections that bind us, to honor the strength within us, and to carry forward the light of resilience, no matter where life takes us. The flame of Flight 519 burns eternal, a guide for generations yet to come. This concludes the story. Thank you for watching until the end. I hope you found it enjoyable. If you did, please consider liking the video and sharing it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell for more captivating stories. Have a great day.